Oh, there you are. Sorry, you guys. Hey, you guys. Oh,
So-
James is on. Hi, James.
Yeah, so we're double live in here just because we both have our own kind of separate audiences. If you're on my timeline, you know I'm Connie Reguli, and if you're on her timeline, you know it's Kimberly Lowe. You know I'm Tennessee, and she's Virginia, and if you're on her timeline, you know she's running for Congress, and I'm running for the river.
She's the smart one.
So, so y'all know we went through a criminal trial this week with Wendy, and it's so complex, and it's so what it has done to family rights and the power it has given to the Department of Children's Services is like so frightening. And I'll probably just do a live myself just to go through it step by step by step by step. But I'll tell you, was quite interesting. It's not over yet. I moved to dismiss the indictment. Instead of dismissing the indictment because the judge did not follow the statute, the judge changed the statute because he said the facts didn't fit the statute, and so he decided to change the statute. So we're on to the next level, and I kind of put this in God's hands, and however he wants us to play out, it's going to play out, but we have to just keep pushing forward. So where we are right now is a jury found Wendy guilty because of an ex parte order that she didn't, quote unquote, turn her child over to the Department of Children's Services. So whether safety be damned, it didn't have anything to do with the safety of the child. It didn't have anything to do about immediate risk of harm. It had everything to do with the fact that they violated their policies by not returning my phone call when I made at least four separate phone calls to the caseworker and all of these people.
Can you catch up my people? So there was a hearing this week, and an ex parte order was done in order to take a little girl who had never been away from her mother, 12 years old, put into a home how far away?
200 miles away.
200 miles away from her family with complete strangers, forced to sleep with a 20-year-old, another female, doesn't even have her own bed, pulled out of her home. And the hearing was basically based on a statute. Can you explain
Right. Okay. So yeah, just to back up a little bit. So those who watched us for a while, back in 2018 is when this happened. And an ex parte order was entered against my mom, not my mom, but one of my moms, Wendy, to take her children after, even though she had an attorney, moi, and even though her attorney, moi, called DCS 4 different times and called the detective and told them that we would cooperate, we would have a meeting, there was a relative placement available, and they just negated all of that and went and got an ex parte order, didn't even tell me they had an ex parte order, set a hearing for the following morning, didn't have the courtesy of giving me a phone call that there was a hearing, and then chasing her down and taking her child when she would not escort her child and hand her child over to DCS. Never a question of imminent risk of harm. Never had a hearing. Now, this is a problem with the statute that we have, and I've already been brainstorming with some people this week. I've already ordered the legislative history on this statute because this statute was not intended for this purpose. And so Wendy was charged with a felony for an ex parte order in which there was never any due process, and in which DCS skipped to the next county behind my back because I'd done everything I could to track them down.
It also didn't say that the mom needed to drop her daughter off somewhere.
Right. It didn't tell her, to take her child to a certain place. It just said she's in the custody. So this is extremely... I face these with parents all the time that their children are taken by ex parte orders. And any of you who follow my post, I said, write a note that says my child was taken by an ex parte order and take your picture and send it to me. Because the ex parte orders is the bane. It is the bane of process. It's not process at all. It does everything to violate due process. This DCS employee, Dee Miller, lied. She lied under oath in a petition, and she failed to disclose exculpatory information, which is unconstitutional.
And I also want to say that I have people reaching out to me on a daily basis, and I'm always told, they didn't present the evidence. There was no due process. they don't follow the law, you have the evidence, and this is what you see across the country, and sadly that's the norm. You can put your cases up online at www.judicialpedia.com, so that way it can be viewed publicly. I think it's important to get this stuff out to the public. That's judicialpedia.com.
Yeah. So they ended up charging Wendy with a felony, and they found her guilty of a felony. Now, the jury does not understand. It's very legalistic, and for any of you who are Bible historians, you know, one of the things that it talks about in the history around the time of Isaiah was how legalistic everything was. And it's the same thing with Nazi Germany, because everything that happened in Nazi Germany was legal. And it's like if there's a law that says you can't cross a street after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you cross the street at 3:30, even though you see somebody dying on the other side of the street, it's still a crime. And that's basically what this is. So you can have an ex parte order where the DCS worker has lied, where they have refused to follow their own policy, where they have refused to cooperate with the parent's attorney. I mean, I just want to express that. Now, I was a prosecutor before, and you know, if somebody was charged with a crime and we knew they had an attorney, we would contact their attorney. We'd try to work with them. So it's outrageous. As far as parents' rights, this is outrageous. And I just want to tie this into a lot of other things that are going on kind of quickly, because what happened to Wendy was before COVID. But since COVID, the other things that have happened is they force mask wearing, right? They have forced certain educational things. They're forcing all these things on our children and our families. And if you don't comply as a parent, they will get an ex parte investigative order or an ex parte order on you. In Tennessee, as in most states, they can get ex parte investigative orders. And so with those investigative orders, they can actually pick your child up without even probable cause of imminent harm. We have got to change these laws. I am putting myself out there as a family policy specialist across the country, as these laws have got to change. And it is actually a fraud issue. It is a federal fraud issue when the taxpayers' money is being used and misappropriated. So every day that a child is in foster care unnecessarily, and I sat with, y'all know who watch me know that I was with Jennifer Wynn this week, and we sat down and we just estimated that there's probably a foster kid to them is probably worth $80,000 a year. And so if you take 5,000 families and you show that their child was in foster care for a year, which we all know it's usually longer than that and what they do. So, I mean, you're talking about $140 million or something. It's just crazy. So one of the things that we're working towards organizing, and I want you all to think about this, if your child's been taken either by an ex parte order or without probable cause or without the least restrictive means or safety plans or relative placement, every single day that your child was in foster care is a taxpayer fraud issue. And that's one of the places that we're going to start. I'm probably going to put together a form on that so I can get some other attorneys to help me, because that is like a whistleblower issue. And so we all need to be whistleblowers on this violation. All right, so I'm going to, Kimberly has been a busy girl. And I'm telling you, she is rocking and rolling and meeting people and talking to them. And I just want you to talk to people about what you've been doing.
Great. So I'm in Virginia. I'm running for Congress in Virginia in order to pass and introduce sweeping federal changes. In the long run, what I would like to see is a separate office that's not associated with the Bar Association or any type of formal complaints, that has jurisdiction over the courts, in order to reunify our families who have been separated. We have to defund the Adoption and Safe Family Act or reallocate those funds so that way we make our family stronger. Because currently we spend $29 billion of our Social Security funds taking children from families and not working on housing stability, mental health issues, substance abuse problems, etc., or just general sustainability and generational poverty. So I'm running for Congress in Virginia, U.S. House, so that way I can pass sweeping changes, because our families can't wait we need to get our families back together because, as you all know who are watching, in most instances, there's not been a case of neglect. Poverty is not neglect, and this is really just financial gain for everyone involved. So I hit the road. I drove 23 hours from Virginia to Dallas, Texas. I went to a conference called CPAC. I was able to get 9 interviews, even with a Korean station, and I talked about the policies that need to change in order to make our family stronger. I was able to get on Fox News Radio, Right Side Broadcast, Mike Lindell TV, a whole slew of different broadcasters. I also met with legislators across the country. Many of these legislators I've met at other locations. So I'm building up I'm building up a relationship with them, so that way it's just going to be easier for us to bring awareness to other legislators, so we can take this fight to Washington D.C. to get the sweeping changes that we need. I was able to walk Ben Carson in. He was very, very receptive to what I had to talk about strengthening our families. I talked to Mike Lindell again. Ronnie Jackson out of Texas was very receptive as well. Louis Gomez. So they were... Gomert, thank you. So, whatever you guys call.
I think that's probably a baseball player, Louis Gomez. Louis Gomert.
It sounds hot, though. I don't know. So, I'm sorry. Oh, you can come down. You want to come down? Come here. Her grandkids are so cute, and I want to take them home. Come here.
Can I just get like a cup of water?
Can he get on the video?
Yeah, you want to say come here?
No, I'm
Here.
fine.
No, but you're so cute.
Sorry,
I want you to take that one home with me. Okay,
we have
I'm
a
sorry.
slew of children with us.
It's so great. So, so I spoke to an attorney general out of Louisiana. I spoke to so many people, and it brings awareness, and people really have no idea what's happening. So you have to be out there. You have got to get off your couch. You have got to make phone calls to your legislators, so that way you make them aware, because they really have absolutely no idea what is going on. And we're not going to create the change we need unless they understand what's happening.
And here's one of the super frustrating things to me. So right here in Tennessee, in Chattanooga, they flew in under cover of night. They flew in these children who were brought across the border illegally, illegal immigrants, unaccompanied minors. They flew them in the dark of night. They put them in a sort of a group home situation in Chattanooga, and I think there was like 128 of them. And they, everybody went like freaking crazy, okay, when they found out. They're like, oh my gosh, all these children, and it's not a good place for them, and it's not this, and it's blah, 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 blah. Well, let me tell you, the state of Tennessee has 8,200 children in foster care. That means that they have taken 82 children out away from everything that they know as real and put them with strangers. And let's just be honest, foster homes are strangers to children, and you are cutting off their family ties, their family communications, their family generations, and we should be shouting it from the rooftops. Mm-hmm. I did a little PowerPoint presentation that I narrated. It was one of the first times I'd done something like that. I'm not totally 100% happy with it, but it is on my YouTube, and I posted it to Facebook, and it's about 10 minutes, and it talks about how many children are being churned through the foster care system every year and how many new bodies they have to get in the system. And really across the nation, it amounts to one child every single minute of every single day in the United States. So as you sit here, we've been here, for 14 minutes or something. So 14 children have been removed from their families, and these are not all physical and sexual abuse. It is because of what they call neglect. And we know that half of neglect is substance abuse. And with all of the kabillion dollars we have spent fighting COVID and creating a vaccine for COVID that's a treatable disease with ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, we can't create some substance abuse centers for our own citizens.
And we're not talking about giving people just another drug to take. We're talking about real treatment of people, and you just can't even find those for people.
I mean, how many billions of dollars have we spent on COVID? And look at the opioid crisis and look at the number of people. And I have parents who are committing suicide and dying, and it is so hard to get off of heroin and meth and opioids. It is so hard. And it's, and we're just, and 45% of the kids that are taken from homes and severed, and the relationships with their families severed forever, are from the opioid crisis and meth. Meth is horrible. And yet criminals get an opportunity to do drug court, where we have millions of dollars put into drug court so that they can have treatment while they rehabilitate instead of going to prison and rotting away. And yet we won't do that for families and parents.
It's horrible.
It's like, it is so upside down and backwards.
We're at a point in this country where we're at the point of communism. I think we're past socialism. The state owns our children. The state can take children when they feel like it. They don't follow the Constitution or any laws. There's no one to keep them in check at all. They're controlling our speech. We've got to stand up and come together to fight this, whether you are on the right or the left, because we've got to save our families.
And I, as an attorney, have faced so much retaliation. I can't even tell you. And it is like they're now in their round 3 of trying to silence me and get rid of me. And this time, 6 different judges have tried to do it. One of the judges complained, listen to this, because it will make your head spin and something spew out of your mouth. But I had several families come to me and complain about our local community juvenile court judge, who I don't like. She knows I don't like her. I think she's mean, rude, condescending. I don't think she's judicious at all. I think she's never impartial, and that's my personal opinion. And her name is Judge Sharon Guffey. I don't like her, okay? I think she does a horrible job, and I've seen what she's done to children. I saw her put a child in solitary confinement for 45 days, where after he had been assaulted by one of her own staff members, cut off from his parents. I don't like her. And so several families came to me and complained about her, and they said, where can we go? And I said, why don't you go to the county commission? She's a county employee. And so we organized a day, we set a day, and everybody just decided to go. And they told their own story. And I said, you need to bring a picture of your child. And so it wasn't just words. And so they brought pictures of their child. And as they spoke, I held up for the whole county commission to see a picture of their child. And this juvenile court judge filed a bar complaint on me, saying that I was interfering with the administration of justice. That's how bad it is. I have another judge who says that, I communicated...
Guffey, right? Judge's
yes,
name again?
Judge Guffey. Judge Sharon E. Guffey. Guffee.
Don't forget the E.
And actually, if you go to my YouTube, YouTube is just under my name, Connie Reguli. I try to put up videos. Some of them are political, but a lot of them are just about the process and what I'm working through. And you'll see the day I called her in for a deposition in my office. And of course, she had to wear a mask. And the Attorney General shows up with her and they wear a mask. I told the Attorney General she wasn't welcome. She needed to leave. And it blew up. It actually blew up. So I posted that as well. So I'm going to depose these judges. I'm going to do it on video. I'm going to ask them these pointed questions about why they're complaining about the First Amendment rights. Another judge complained. Here's his complaint. His complaint is I filed a motion for him to recuse himself because he was appointed as a special judge on a case of mine. And this is a judge that I had been tracking for years. And I'd been tracking every single bad behavior of his for years. And several reports had been filed against him. And so when so he got appointed to my case, and I told my client, who knew nothing about that, I said, I'm going to have to file a motion for him to recuse himself about all the things that I've been exposed and reporting on. And he recused himself, and then he continued to write in the opinion about how I was interfering with the administration of justice by bringing up all his bad acts. And it's all true. He didn't say anything was not true. He just said it was not necessary for me to say all of that, right? So let's see. Another one complained that Judge Tatum in Wilson County complained that I was communicating with a represented party, but he hadn't appointed anybody to represent them at the time I communicated with him. So that was back-asswards. And then let's see, Judge Collins, who snuck an ex parte order behind my client's nose on an affidavit that there were lies in, and he never did anything about the DCS worker perpetrating lies to the court. So, it's just out of hand. It's just totally out of hand. And nobody will stand up to him. And I'm going to tell you, with this latest thing that happened with Wendy, and I stood up for her on an ex parte order, no attorney will ever stand up for you again.
Because
ever.
Of this. Yep.
Ever.
Yep. Now, tell me what you were charged with.
Oh, I was charged with facilitating a felony.
That's my girl. And that's why we love
Wait a
you.
minute, there's 3 of them. Accessory after the fact.
Accessory after the fact.
I don't even remember the other one.
Because she was actually acting in her capacity as a counsel,
as a
lawyer to her client.
Right. You would think that I told her how to rob a bank. I mean, seriously. Instead of telling her what her constitutional rights were and what the underlying laws were that affected this, and that this should have never, ever, ever happened to her, and she had a right to have a meeting, to have services under federal law. She had, and let me tell you what happened in that courtroom. And the judge, I actually had to testify, and they asked the questions of what I was advising her, and I said, well, I was advising her about 42 U.S.C. 671 and 673, about 45 CFR 1356, and about TCA 371166. And the judge goes, did you use those numbers? I said, yes.
Everybody wants a friend this cool. Why do I get to be so lucky?
Because those were federal and state laws that required the state to provide least restrictive means, relative placement, reasonable efforts. Your federal dollars are directly associated to those. And I'm just telling you, DCS of Tennessee, as well as every other state agency across this country, we're going to be pulling out all the data on all the children that you've stuffed into foster care when their family could have either been rehabilitated, or you can either rehabilitated or placed with a relative, and you refuse to do it, right? We're going to be pulling out all the data and going forward with that. And there are lawyers who know what the code words are that I'm talking about. I'm not going to talk to y'all about it, to you, and don't think that I'm not doing that because I think you're stupid and you don't understand the law. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to put those words out in the video because they watch everything I do. So
they're going to be a fan of me now. I'm going to give them my website. Maybe they'll donate to my campaign.
Who? DCS?
Yeah.
You should go I don't agree with the thing she says. I had to do that with Jennifer. Oh, let me tell you what else they did. So Jennifer Wynn was with me. I love Jennifer Wynn. Oh my gosh, I just love that girl. And I'm going to tell you, if Jennifer Wynn and I ever spent 24 hours in the same area, in the same spot at the same time, there would probably be spontaneous combustion. But Jennifer Wynn went and sat through my court trial on Wednesday morning. Now Sunday when Jennifer came in, we did a live video. We just kind of talked about what was going on, and then I shut up. And I put on my timeline, I said, if you all want to know what's going on, follow Jennifer Wynn. And then I just shut up. The only thing I went on Facebook for was to scroll through and just see if there was any news or anything. I didn't make any posts. I didn't make any videos from Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Wednesday morning, so I testified on Tuesday afternoon. On Wednesday morning, the DCS attorney, who was sitting with the DA, by the way, which sitting with the DA is for the victim. I don't think you, DCS, or Tracy Hetzel are a victim of this crime. Are you a victim of this crime? I guess you're the victim because you got the ex parte order behind my back. I guess that makes you the victim. So anyway, Tracy Hetzel's over there whispering to the DA. on Wednesday morning. And so the DA stands up and goes, Judge, I think maybe we need to have a special instruction to the jury because one of the people here support people, which was Jennifer Wynn, by the way. And she goes further, though. She goes, and the defendant and a defense witness made a live on Facebook last night and talked about the jury, a juror, and blah, blah, blah. Now, the poor defense attorney, who's a public defender, who does not know what to do with us, right? I mean, the poor thing. He's just like, I could just see him just like sit up like this. It was a total lie. It was a total lie. And it had not happened, and it was done specifically to get our defense attorney shaken up and to get the judge pissed off. It was a total lie to the court. And Tracy Hetzel did that. Tracy Hetzel, who sit over there with all of her fancy smugness as a victim in this case. She doesn't like me, let's just say that. But you know what? It's going to happen. It's going to come out. It's going to be shown. So during the break, I went over to the public defender and I said, that absolutely did not happen. We are not that stupid. That was a lie. So I'll just tell you, if any of you are familiar with legal history or Tennessee history, you'll know about the monkey trials. Okay, so do you know what the monkey trials are in Cleveland, Tennessee? So the monkey trials are all about a Tennessee history teacher who was teaching evolution. Yeah.
What year, do you know?
Oh, I don't know. Probably like 1920 or something. And he was charged criminally, okay? And this attorney, I want to say F. Lee Bailey, but I don't know who it is. I mean, it's some really like famous lawyer came down from Chicago to Cleveland, Tennessee for the monkey trials, right? It was a big trial. And it was a big, huge deal. And it's all like Tennessee history. And you can go look up, and even Wikipedia, who's like really twisted and perverted, will tell you about the monkey trials. So I sent an email to our criminal attorneys and I said, look, I know that you didn't want to take on the monkey trials 2.0 in the state of Tennessee, but that's basically, I said, there are thousands of children taken every day on ex parte orders, and this law was not written for that. So hang in there with us. God's plan is bigger than your plan. Just follow through. Just do what you need to do. So we'll see. You know, nobody's as oops. Nobody, sorry about that. Nobody is as just, I don't know what to say. I don't know what the right word is to say. I don't want to say forceful, but direct, and at the same time knowledgeable, and what would you call it? I'm just like, I just know this is not right, okay? This is not right. And we are, I mean, everything about family law, and sadly, I have to say that the attorneys that I see around me, the ones, what they're doing, I'm so distressed sometimes about the mentality of what I see, that it's just frustrating, and it's very, I don't even know how to explain it. I just wake up every day and go like, okay, one more day. I mean, families call me all the time, one more day, one more day. You know, we got to do it. So please keep documenting what's going on, and we're going to keep pushing forward.
And I think we're not going to get much relief until the funding stops for this. And really, we need to dismantle the courts completely and pull everything out of these courts. These courts are just complete state tyranny. I mean, that's the long-term goal, when we're going to have to take baby steps to get there.
Yeah, and you know, Tennessee admits that when you get a divorce, that there are 3 parties to your lawsuit: the husband, the wife, and the state. Okay, they pretty much admit that in case law. And what that means is it allows so much state control. I mean, when the state can control your actions, right? What might be considered normal parenting. I mean, the kinds of things I've seen, like they can keep a parent from going to the school when there's no evidence of harm. They can use an ex parte order to. Criminals have more rights than parents. I've said this over and over and over.
And to watch, I just saw a video of a little girl who was ripped away from her mother, put into foster care, and she was just saying, "Save me, save me." I mean, it's horrifying. Horrifying.
And that's what Briella said to her mom when I was supposed to use. I'm sorry, I was supposed to use a code word for that.
I was trying to be careful over here. She's a
Beep. I mean,
beep.
people who are with me know, and they want us to share what's going on. But sometimes with kids, I promise to use like a code word, and I just like forgot to know what, because I just love her so much. Actually, I love her so much. She's so sweet. But anyway, I mean, she cried out, save me," while she was in foster care. And the guardian ad litem, let me tell you what she did. So we had her testify, and she said in court that she was not afraid of her mom. She never felt in fear. She never felt unsafe. Her mom did not take care of her. This is a child who was in 4-H and cheerleading, and went swimming with her friends, and what else? Gymnastics. She had good friends that, that were safe to spend the night with. She had a grandpa that loves her to death and saw her every week. All of that was ripped away from her at 12 years old.
Poor baby.
12 years old. It's like, and sometimes when I tell the story to people, I'm like, imagine somebody knocking on your door at 7:00 and saying, "Can you grab a few clothes? We're taking you somewhere." And you go like, "Where are we going?" And you go like, "I don't know where you're going." And then they take you and they dump you off at a home of strangers, and you're much more worldly than a child, and you understand things much more than a child. And what they do that to children every single day, every day. So now, and I'm also going to say, I know there are families that have problems, and I know there are children in not good situations, and we do need to make sure that we're covering those bases as well. But I was a prosecutor, and my very first jury trial was a baby murder, and I won. It was a 2-year-old with head injuries and burns, and we put the dude away. So, but too many times it's the opposite.
Yeah.
So what are y'all doing today?
If you guys want to follow me, go to www.kimberlylowe.com. I never update it, but there is a donation link. Yeah, because I have to raise $2 million by June next year. No pressure. You could have like a bake sale.
Yeah.
I don't know. Send $20.
Yeah, a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
We have 2022 is going to be a big year. If y'all are following politics, maybe not. Yeah, like totally. So this is like, I think more people are aware of politics than ever, and who is, we pay these people, your tax dollars. It's so frustrating. I sit down and I write down how much taxes I pay. And remember, you pay income tax, you pay federal withholding, you pay Social Security tax, and then your employer pays Social Security tax on you, which is another 7.5%. So between Social Security and your withholding, it's like almost 30% of your income. And then after you chop off 30% of your income from that already taxed dollar, you have to pay all these other taxes. And you pay property taxes and sales taxes and gas taxes and alcohol taxes and filing fees and parking tickets, and I mean, it goes on and on and on. And then they control interest and inflation. All right, so we have got to get a handle on this. Inflation, as everybody has seen, if you just look at gasoline alone, if you look at meat, if you look at the things that we need on a day-to-day basis, they have gone freaking crazy. Home prices have gone crazy. A lot of people are trying to market and use our homes as investments and put them up for short-term rentals, and that is imploding. So it's just, we have got to put people on our payroll. And I'll tell you, okay, I forgot to tell you something about my trial. So Monday morning, I didn't tell you this. Monday morning we get there, and I have about 12 people who are showing up. And so I get through the front door with a couple other people, and then I have another few people sending me a text message from the coming in the front door, and they're like, they're not going to let us come in because of COVID. I'm like, what? So I walk down to the front where the security guard is.
And he said, we can't let anybody in the front door unless they're on the docket or they're an attorney. We can't let support people in. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you not know that all of the governor's COVID restrictions are over and done and lifted? And they're like, there's a Supreme Court order. I'm like, okay, well, what Supreme Court order are you following? And so he goes, do I need to call my supervisor? I'm like, yes, you need to call your supervisor. So his supervisor comes out, and he's actually a very nice guy. And while we're waiting, so I ask a supervisor what order he's following from the Supreme Court. And so he goes, okay, I'll have to go get it. Well, I have my phone with me, and all you do is have to Google Tennessee Supreme Court COVID order, right? And it just like pops up. Well, while the superintendent is gone, which takes him forever, I turn around. I was really frustrated with this guy. And you know what? I know I'm one of those people who believe in don't slay the messenger, right? And the people who are at the end of the food chain are typically not the people who created the problem. They just have to follow it, right? And so I turned to this guy and I said, this is our courthouse and you are our employee. And he says, I pay taxes too. I said, whoa. No, you don't. I says, I pay taxes to pay you, and then you pay taxes on the tax money that I've already paid. So really, you aren't paying taxes at all. I'm being double taxed.
Yeah.
And he's like, he did not. And I just but I was so mad. And so then the guy comes back with his order, and he's like, well, this order's in place. And I'm like, okay, I'm calling the Supreme Court. And so I called the administrative office of the courts and talked to John Koch. And I said, John, this order from 5/14/21 does not restrict access to the courthouse. And down here in Williamson County, they're restricting access to the courthouse. And he goes, well, they can have a local order that I'm like, no, you don't understand. I asked them what order they were following, and they said they were following your order. So he goes, I'm not going to interpret the order for you. I said, I don't want you to interpret the order for me. I want you to interpret the order for them. Because this order says that judges can control the population of the courtroom with in mind safety and open access to the courts. Okay? So it didn't have anything to do about the number of the people in the courthouse, and there was no order restricting that. And so we went back and forth for a little bit, and then finally they let them all in. Then on Tuesday afternoon, somebody's phone went off in the courtroom. Nobody from my crowd, none of my people's phone went off. It was Sophia Crawford's phone went off, who is one of the deputy assistant counsel for the Department of Children's Services. Her phone went off in the courtroom. And so at the end of Tuesday, the judge is like, well, I'm going to make everybody turn their electronics off yet tomorrow. Everybody has to power off their electronics. Well, I had with me Chad Farley, who's a disabled vet who has cochlear implants, must have his phone on to be able to hear. So on Wednesday morning, I said to the public defender, I said, look, I've got a disabled vet here, and he has to have his phone on to hear. And so the public defender tried to say to the judge, we have a disabled vet. The judge wouldn't even let him finish a sentence, but he cut him off. He goes, I'm not making any exceptions. And so we walked out of the courtroom, and I called for the ADA coordinator, which is the Americans with Disability Act coordinator, and then said, you need to make the accommodation that he can have his phone on. And he said he was going to go talk to the judge. I don't know if he did or not, but he never made that accommodation. And the day before, they were spying on us in the hallway, and Chad had sat down to talk to me about his case that he has pending. And I'm sitting in the hallway when they start court, and they call him out and say, oh, he was talking to a witness in the hallway. And they called Chad up and put him on the witness stand and asked him what he was talking to me about. I mean, that's how twisted they are, while all of their witnesses sat in a private room, chumming it up over there. So,
Connie, I have a question for your viewers. You are a highly sought out attorney because she is really the best attorney in the nation for fighting CPS, right? And she has been a fighter for so long. She's been doing this for so long and fighting so hard. It's amazing. She is working herself to death. She has a heavy client load, and people are asking her for help all the time. But you need to realize that she is a paid attorney. This is her job. She has bills. We understand the number of children being taken per day and the number of people reaching out to her for help. I mean, she has an office, but I mean, she has a limited area that she can practice in. I mean, she's in Tennessee. So I understand people are begging you for help, but I need people to understand that she's an attorney you pay for, and she has got bills, and she has a really large client load. And I mean, I don't know when she has time to sleep, really.
Yeah, well, it is my job, and I do work it, and I do, have a certain amount that, I need to generate as a business person who's practicing law. And, but I also give a lot of my time away for training and for talking to people. And, and when people call me from all over the country, and I'll just tell you now, for a consult, I charge a reduced rate of $150. And that's for about an hour to look at a case and just try to give you some advice on where you are. But you've got to be prepared if you're going to talk to me, because an hour is not very long. You have to know who all the players are. You have to have their name, because I'm going to say, what's her name? What role does she play? What is she?
I continue to see comments. She has an actual business office, so you would have to call her office. She has a secretary, in order to schedule something. And I'm sure she has a scheduler for those types of things. So it's not just you message Connie on Facebook and Connie reaches out to you. Connie is probably like me. I have hundreds of people per day messaging me for help, and there's only one of me, but I still try to guide people in the right direction for resources.
Right. Or, I mean, sometimes when people do message me, I'll tell them, I'll set something up if I can, but you just need to understand that 8 to 5, 9 to 5 every day, I am working.
Yeah.
I am working. I'm in court. I'm working with people. I'm technically on the payroll, so to speak, because I have an office, I have staff, I have to generate that income. And so, but like I started to say, you've got to be prepared if you're going to talk to me, and you need to have a timeline. You need to know what your court orders say. You need to know when they were entered, because that's what I'm going to ask. When was that order entered? What did it say? Do you have that with you? Can you read it to me? Who is the person? So that's the only way I can process what's going on. I understand a lot of people just feel bad, and they just want to talk about how they've been wronged.
Correct. And I can help you with that. There's
wronged.
I'm sorry for interrupting. You can go to Parents Assisting Parents, which is it's Parents Assisting Parents Network on Facebook, to get an advocate and to get resources like paperwork, or if you want to learn about drug testing, for example, or sometimes you get a false positive drug test. We have all that information on the page, or you want to understand some terminology, that's all on the page, so you can look it up. You can also go to www.familycourtanticorruptioncoalition.com. They have lots of groups, lots of Zoom meetings per week. They have groups per state. They have groups per topic, whether it's you need a court watcher, you have one particular problem with your case that you need help with. They have a guy who gets on Sundays who talks about law. So it's a good place to be. They just had their 1-year anniversary. I've been involved with them for some time. I send people there. It's free. So these are free resources. You don't just need Connie. There are resources out there for you to get that help and to get an advocate, okay?
Yeah, and I see a lot of you asking for a link or something. What I'm going to do, several people have asked that. So after we get off of this live, we will go and edit the live and put up in the header some of those resources. I also have the Family Forward Foundation, which has its own separate website. I do a lot of lives, either directly on my timeline or on Family Forward Project, and then I always upload them to to Connie Reguli on YouTube. And I talk a lot about the process. I also have a family advocate program put together and outlined. I haven't started sharing it yet, because one of the bill that I asked for in Tennessee this year was a family advocacy bill. The Department of Children's Services came in and lobbied against my bill and said, no, we do that. I'm like, what? I said, of course you don't do that. So So I am a little bit waiting to release that as part of the Family Advocacy Bill program. So, but I do have it outlined as 16 different modules as kind of understanding the process, and then we will also go from there. So Kimberly and I will go back on, we will take and download our live today. We'll upload it to our YouTube channel. And then we will go in and edit and put some of those resources. So make sure you go back and find those. And I agree with parents. I'm not 100% on top of every single recommendation they give because they're not lawyers. And so I'm a little bit hesitant. But as far as just support and the key thing, and Amy in Minnesota, is she in Minnesota?
Yeah. And John, I didn't see your last comment. Can I scroll back? He had a question. John, just type it again. Sorry.
No, hang on. Here we are.
It's way back there somewhere.
Okay.
Oh, love you. Love. You don't love Kimberly?
Yeah, love. Thanks, Connie. Posted all of them. Connie, accepted a donation. Yeah. All right. So, So we'll go back and kind of scroll through the comments and respond to what we can. It's a little bit hard to do while we're doing a live. But like I said, we will post this. We'll put this on YouTube. We'll put some of that link and information. Also, you can see where I was with Jennifer this week. You can see some of those videos if you missed them. Where I'm going from here, I'll tell you a couple things that I'm doing. I am working with a local organization. I'm a Republican. This is not a bipartisan issue, but I'm a conservative Republican, and I am a member of the Tennessee Republican Assembly and the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. I am on the board of the Tennessee group and of the national group right now. I'm also seeking to be the Southern Region Vice President for the NFRA.
Stop it.
And I'm asking both the Tennessee Republican Assembly and the National Federation of Republican Assembly to create a specific policy committee, including a family policy committee, where we can actually go to the legislators and say these are the policies that we want implemented.
Her house is spotless.
And I fixed lunch for
and
8 people today.
She's like Susie Homemaker in the kitchen, which I didn't know.
So
she made us this big lunch like before 12.
Yeah, we had like corn and tomatoes
and she's like
chicken
taking
and
care of the
homemade cookies
grandkids
and biscuits and yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
really?
So
some people had some questions. John, it's Kimberly Lowe, Lowe, so that way you can find me on Facebook. Someone said something about Family Court Anti-Corruption Coalition. They can probably help you get into a thread, based on what you need. Keep pushing with that. And then if you don't see what you need, what you can do is use their server to have Zoom meetings for your state or for your county weekly, and that's what we did in West Virginia. So West Virginians out there, I have a private group just for West Virginia, and weekly, DREMA in West Virginia has been holding Zoom meetings through Family Court Anti-Corruption Coalition. So sometimes you have to be the one to step up and pull people in and get together so you have time to talk about your experiences and know that you're not alone.
Well, and I'll tell you, as an attorney who's done this for 27 years, it's the same patterns over and over and over. I mean, it's the same thing. They lie to the court. I mean, I swear they have like their own little secret conference calls where they're like, hey, guess what? I tried this week and it worked. It's like, I told the judge that it was meth and it wasn't even really meth. Right? So I've been doing open records requests for their training. Oh my gosh, you should say their training for the Families First Act was so horrible and so boring. So I'm doing also a lot of things like asking for open records. And when I did the live with Jennifer, I talked about in every state, I need an organizer and I need a researcher, and a promoter. But the first two are the organizer and researcher. So if you, and I, I'm still working on how to try to get all this organized, but whatever state you're in, I see a lot of people. I see Laura, I see Bakura, I see Jenny.
This is what we want to do. We want to hire Connie for the campaign and to take care of family policy, so that way she could probably be more available and to make sure that she can be the squeaky and brilliant will that she is in order to get this stuff done. But I need donations because I literally have to raise $2 million by June next year.
Thomas Crane. Okay, thank you, Thomas. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create. I've done a jot form before. I had some great participation in that. I did a jot form before where some people filled out just kind of the initiation of their case. I got about 300 responses of good information on that. So I think I'm going to do PA. Okay. I see Thomas. I'm going to, Thomas, why don't you send me something messenger so I can put that together. So, and then I need somebody on a national level to organize, and I think maybe Jenny can help me with that. Jenny in Chattanooga. So that because in 16, 17, and the first part of 18, I did a lot of traveling. I've done about 12 different states where we got people together. We've had everything from 5 people to 300 people. All right.
So, back, I forget how many months ago, we tried to hold a national rally, and when we did that, we collected lists from states, and we didn't quite have, the full number of states, but it's a start, and we had a head person for at least half of the states. So, I mean, that's somewhere where we could start. And also, Family Court Anti-Corruption Coalition is gathering people really from around the nation. So if we can pull our resources together, then we're going to have those people to organize.
And I'm going to say for families, we have a lot of families who are in the middle of crisis, but I'm going to say for anybody who watches this out there, if you are past your crisis, whether good or bad in the outcome, you have to continue to help. You must continue to help. Some people, it's a good experience, and then they just want to shut the door and walk away and live their happy lives. And I'm going to tell you, I could do that, okay? I want you all to know I could walk away. I could go live a decent life. I could retire and, ride on the Greyhound bus with a bunch of other gray-haired old people.
I'd go ride a horse. Have time.
Well, I could do, old people tours. Every month, I get a flyer for a river cruise down the Rhine. I mean, every freaking month. There's some list out there that I'm on. And every time I look at it, you all, I go river cruise down the Rhine. Mm-hmm. Families.
I know.
River cruise down the road. So, you know what? I have stuck with it. I have hung in there.
She has for so long.
It serves me little. There are a few people who are like, oh, she's doing it for the money. Well, it's my career, no doubt. But nobody will stand up and talk and speak and be educated on the federal law. It is amazing to me that these attorneys out there have no clue.
Here's the thing. If she was one of those attorneys, she would be still in your home, too, like the rest of them. And she would actually really be rolling in dough.
Yeah.
So that's not who she is.
Yeah.
She's doing this.
So, but I have to have families who've come past it. And there's some families that I've helped. And I see them, God love them. I still love them. But they're gone on and moving along with their happy lives. Okay? Y'all need to step up. I busted my butt to put your family back together, and y'all know who I'm talking about, okay? And you need to be saying, Connie, what can I do to help? Okay? Y'all know who you are out there.
I need help. I need volunteers. I need people willing to make phone calls for me, and I need people who are capable of putting information into a spreadsheet, which is kind of simple, but not all people can actually handle that. I've had no success with that at all. So anyway, please contact me, Kimberly Lowe, on my Facebook page, because I desperately need volunteers in order to do this, because I've been traveling so much. I haven't been in order to raise awareness, and I've been holding rallies, all over the place. So I've been traveling so much that I haven't been able to really get a lot of that basic, simple, work done doing spreadsheet work and stuff. So I need help.
And we've been using social media for family reform now for about 5 years. Okay. Now during that 5 years, we've had to weed a lot of people out because of kind of the way they handled themselves and the way they handled things. And those of you who are watched, or those of you who are in it now, there are some who've bubbled to the top. Okay. The ones who have bubbled to the top are sincere. They put in time. They put in effort. There's no trickery here. We just know. And part of the reason that we do it is because we have children and grandchildren. And Kimberly knows that. I know that. Jennifer Wynn knows that. There are several other that know it. This is about your children and grandchildren and the life they're going to live. All right, so we're just about worn y'all out. Before we end, I am going to show you my black eye, okay, because, I kind of covered it up with makeup.
She still looks great.
I've kind of got it covered up with makeup right now, but all week this last week, I had this huge black eye because I fell on my head. I just like me sidewalk.
Still the prettiest girl I know.
Oh, thank
I
you.
know. So,
And I have a birthday coming up on the 25th, so y'all don't forget to wish me a happy birthday.
yeah. I know some of you on Connie's page don't know me, but I'm on year 5 of family court, and they tried to take my children for years. I mean, basically traffic my children through the court, and I'm one of the few lucky ones. I just fought so hard, and I was willing to take risk that probably jeopardized me in order to save my kids, and I'm still fighting. I still have really bad court orders, so I understand what you have experienced. I understand what you're going through. I'm still living through it, and I'm still fighting, and I will continue to fight for you.
Cash App Connie. Okay, I will. Bakura, thank you. And yes, Thomas asked how I've got a black eye. I planted my face in a concrete sidewalk, just so you know, and it was like so embarrassing. And yeah, I totally did a nosedive. So, and but God's looking out for me. I've already cheated death, y'all. I'm a cancer survivor, and we're 10 years into it, into survival, and every day is a gift. And I have grandchildren that I want to have them live in a world.
Cute. Oh my gosh.
And they know they got a grandmother is a fighter, and I'm training them on how to rally, so they won't be left behind. But thank you all so much. I love you.
I'm so lucky I found Connie, because
I love you.
I like my whole life I'd see these women hanging out on trips and stuff, and I'd be like, I don't like anybody enough to do that. and then I found Connie. And so I love her so much, and I'm so lucky that she, without family court, I would have never had Connie in my life. I would have never had Amy in my life, and all of you. So thank you. I love you guys.
And we've been to D.C. like 3 or 4 times together, and I helped her drag her children all through the streets of D.C.,
So
including
great.
January the 6th, by the way. We were there January 6th, just
was
in case
not
the
an
FBI is
insurrection.
watching this video
Not
all
an
the way to
insurrection.
now. No, it was not an insurrection. All right, with love and hope and the blood of Jesus, and put your armor of God on, because it is our prey, it is our head and our hearts, and we have to shield them, protect them, move forward with just like a warrior, okay? Because we know this is not God's plan, okay? What's happening is not God's plan. We can do this. All right, we love y'all. We're going to say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
We'll see ya.